Ladies and gentlemen, this is Olayemi DIEKO Daniels, popularly known as DIEKO Spectre, and welcome to another episode of DIEKO Talks Law. So guys, on today's episode of DIEKO Talks Law, I'll be talking about false accusation, especially in relation to the Izu's case. Do you understand? But if this is your first time of coming to my channel, then I want to say a very big welcome. Thank you very much for visiting my channel. Please make sure that you click the subscribe button and also make sure that you click the notification bell so that anytime I release any video which is going to be of interest to you, you are going to be one of the first set of people to watch it. And also make sure that you like. Thank you very much. So now, the question is, what is false accusation and what happened to Izu? So I will start with the second question, what happened to Izu, before the first one, which is what is false accusation. So now, days ago, I woke up too and I was asking, who is Izu and why is everybody saying justice for Izu? Because that was the hashtag that was trending. And then I decided to do a little bit of research to know what actually happened. So when I was looking through Twitter as well as other, news websites to see what happened to Izu, I realized that Izu had a conversation with a particular girl, where she asked him out. Now, Izu had this conversation with the girl. It's obvious that the girl liked him, and then the girl, asked him out. And then, according to what I read up, Izu declined that particular request. He said that he was not interested in a relationship. Do you understand? However, he does not mind friends with benefits. Do you understand? Now, the girl said that was non-physical sexual assault. What? Non-physical sexual assault. Okay, now I know that most of you guys are not law students, and even if you are, you might not be conversant with the term non-physical sexual assault. I was not also until I had to make my research on it, and then I went to look at what exactly is non-physical sexual assault. But now let us start with sexual assault. When you're talking about sexual assault, there must be a contact, which is very, very important, between two parties, such that one party did not like or does not welcome the contact made by the other. Do you understand? So for example, if you're passing through Yaba, in Lagos, or you're passing through any crowded area, you know that several people will touch you. It's like normal. They'll just tap you or this or that, or when you're passing, your hands just jam and all that. Now, there is a contact. But imagine that someone touches you in such an indecent manner, or in such a manner that, connotes, all this sexual whatever. Do you understand? That could amount to sexual assault. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, the question is, what is non-physical sexual assault? Which means sexual assault that wasn't physical. So, for example, when you are on WhatsApp and all that, and then somebody sends you a message and says, I want to send my nude to you, and then you say no, and then the person still sends it to you, then that amounts to non-physical sexual assault, because you didn't want to receive the person nude, and then the person sending it to you is like a sexual assault to you, but it wasn't physical. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, where I have problem in relation to this Izu's case is how let us be friends with benefit amounts to non-physical sexual assault. Do you understand what I'm saying? So now, when you are talking about sexual assault or non-physical sexual assault, one key ingredient that must be in the both of them is consent. Do you understand? That means that for there to be sexual assault, it means that the other party, who received the contact which was not welcomed, did not give consent. Do you understand? So for non-physical sexual assault as well, it means that the other party who received a picture, who received a message, or who received whatever it is that wasn't welcome, did not give consent as well. Do you understand? In this case, All Izu was trying to do was ask for consent. According to the whole thing that I read, I did not see anything further that Izu did that could warrant allegation of non-physical sexual assault, and that was where I became perplexed. Do you understand? Then I now realized that what killed Izu was not the false accusation, but the fact that nobody listened to him, which is very, very important. And this is one thing that people usually say when a girl comes up and says that she had either been sexually assaulted or she has been raped. Most people do not want to listen to the other part. In fact, in this particular case, they removed the non-physical and then they kept saying that Izu sexually assaulted her. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, they didn't even listen to what Izu had to say. All they wanted to hear is what the girl had to say. And our people of today, the moment a girl says, I have been sexually assaulted, the next thing you hear is, he's a rapist. That's the next thing. The moment you begin to ask questions like, let us listen to what the boy has to say, not necessarily let us believe him, but let us listen to what the boy has to say, you become a rape apologist, which is actually very, very bad, because this is causing more harm than good to a lot of people. Now, we only know about this case because Izu in this case committed suicide. If Izu had not committed suicide, we likely would have not heard about this thing. Now, I can remember during the Busola Dakolo's case, which happened last year. Do you understand? Now, when the Busola Dakolo's case came out, I was more inclined to believe Busola Dakolo. Why? Because I didn't see any reason why she would want to come out and be telling lies. Do you understand? This thing happened 20 years ago. Busola Dakolo is a successful woman who is even married at that. Why exactly would she want to start lying, against, Fatoimbo in this particular circumstance? I was more inclined to believe her. Do you understand? I listened to what she said and then I was more inclined to believe her. However, it will be against my own conscience for me to base my judgment, no matter how good, no matter how interesting, or no matter how true that particular story seems to be. It's going to be against my conscience to want to base my judgment on just one-sided story, which is very wrong and which is something that we are supposed to evolve past as a society. I understand that rape victims are usually victimized when they come out and say they have been raped, which is one of the reasons why people say let us ask less questions. But I am saying that yes, while we are asking less questions, one very important question to ask is, has the other side spoken? What is the other side saying? Not let us believe the other side, but what is the other side saying? Do you understand? I know that before you would have one case of false accusation, you would have 1,000 cases of real rape cases. Do you understand? But do not forget that one case of false accusation matters a lot, because that is someone's life, that is someone's integrity going down the drain. In this case, it was Izu's life. Do you understand? Now, I came across a particular video by a law student, and then I'm going to be playing it right now.
No, they feel like when you want to rape, you must actually penetrate the girl, and then it's now rape. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. You don't necessarily have to have raped her. No. You don't have to do that. So please and please and please, 11.6 of you that are following me, I want to believe that none of you are rapists. I want to believe that I don't have rapists on my tail. That's what I want to believe. I strongly believe that you guys are beautiful, and the guys that are following me have sense. I just want to believe it. And if you're a rapist and I find out that you're a rapist, I don't care about guys. That's the end, because I cannot.
Now, when I was listening to that particular video, I was like, hey, Jesus, Lord, what is this? How would a law student open her mouth, and say this? Doesn't even make any sense. Because when you're talking about rape, when you look at the criminal code, which is like the principal legislation, and then you look at every other legislation, there is one thing that must always be present, and that is the actus reus, that is actual penetration. it must always be, there must be penetration. So when the girl said you don't need to have, I was like, you don't need to have what? Hope is not what I'm thinking that you are saying. You must. The only question you need to ask is, how slight is your penetration that it will amount to rape? And then the slightest, no matter how slight, even if it's just the tip, then it's still rape. You don't need to have gone inside, but even if it's just the tip that touched it, then it's still rape. Do you understand what I'm saying? But to say that you don't even need to have done anything is rape, you will pass criminal law in Jesus' name. Now, one of the most touching stories for me of false accusation was the case of Brian Banks. Do you understand? Brian Banks was falsely accused at the age of 16 by a girl, obviously. And then, because of that, he was supposed to go to jail for 41 years. 41 years. Now, Brian Banks' lawyer, knowing what is going to come out of the trial, because you have a crying victim, a victim that is shedding tears, saying that the defendant or the accused here raped her. There is no way that the jury would not believe that victim. There is no way whatsoever that the jury will not believe. So the lawyer had to go and take a plea deal. A plea deal is saying, according to him, he's saying I did not do it, but in paper, he's writing that I did it, so that they can reduce his sentence. Do you understand? So now they reduce his sentence to 5 years in prison and 5 years on parole, making it 10 years. So which means he will be done in the next 10 years, and then when he's 26, he should, or thereabout, he should be done. But then this is a girl that falsely accused a boy of something which is not true. And only if they have looked at that case very well, maybe they would have realized that this is actually a case of false accusation. But because we already have a custom of, let us ask the victim less questions, let us ask the case in itself less questions, and let us believe the victim solely on what he has said. That is the reason we have that kind of injustice. I am also very sure that most of you have watched the movie, When They See Us, and you can see the injustice that caused as well. All I am saying is just one thing. When a victim comes out to talk, please and please let us listen to what that victim has said. Please, whether or not you want to believe the victim is left to you, but please and please listen to what the victim has said. So now that you have listened, and whether or not you have believed, always also do another thing. Listen to the other side. People clamoring for listening to the other side are not rape apologists, which is another thing that most people have started saying again. Do you understand? When people come out to say that we should listen to the other side, then they start saying that we are rape apologists, which is very, very bad. Now, I know that there are some people that used to say a lot of things. Do you understand? Some people say a lot of things. Some people ask very disgusting questions. And their point of view sometimes is something that I used to ask myself and say, what are you saying? Do you understand? For example, when a victim has been raped, most people used to ask, what was she putting on? Now, I reply those people that say that thing with the Uwa's case, where she went to church and she was putting on something very modest, but she was still raped and then killed. Do you understand? Now, another thing they used to ask is, where did she go? And then I still reply there with the same Uwa's case by saying she went to church. Which other question do you want to ask? But do you know that the people that ask those questions the most are our parents and the elderly people in the society? Those are the people that usually say that you should dress well so as to avoid indecent assault and all other things. Those are the people that will tell you that you should be watchful and be mindful of where you go, because that can increase your chances of being raped. Now, can you face your parent or your mom if they hold that particular opinion and say that they are rape apologists? Now, the society evolved that culture of asking those questions. Why? Because that was what we were taught in secondary school. If you go to our social studies textbooks from primary school to secondary school, you will see that the causes of rape would be the way you are dressed, where you go to, working ungodly hours, blah, 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 blah. That is what we were taught when we were young. So if you want to start pointing fingers at rape apologists, start with the authors of those books. Start with your secondary school teachers who also taught it in the class. Do you understand? This is not the time for us to start pointing fingers and saying that this particular person is a rape apologist, or this person is a rapist, or this is one thing or the other. No, this is the time where we are supposed to educate people that these questions that you're asking are not the relevant questions to ask. I can remember when I was having a conversation with an elderly person. Do you understand? I was having this conversation with an elderly person, and the person is of the opinion that dressing in a particular manner, most likely indecently, increases your chances of rape, or it is what will make people get attracted to your body and want to rape you. Then I asked the person a question. I said, sir, imagine that a boy is in a particular room with no other person, and there is a phone on the table. There is nobody around. Do you understand? Would you advise that boy to pick up that phone and walk out of that room, knowing fully well that that boy is not the owner of the phone? Or if they come to meet you with a case like that the boy picked up the phone and went out, what would be your judgment in relation to that case? Wouldn't you call the boy a thief for picking a phone that does not belong to him? That is the same way when you see people that dress indecently. The only reason you are raping them is because you are a rapist, not because of the way they dressed. Do you understand? Now, the only reason a person will want to take a phone that does not belong to him is because the person is a thief, and not because the phone is lying on the table. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, with that analogy, I was able to convince him that, let us see things from different perspectives. I did not necessarily have to call him a rape apologist for holding such opinion, because I understand that that's the ideology that he has always had. That does not make him a rapist. Please, people, that doesn't make him a rapist. That's the same way when people ask certain questions, instead of you to shout at them and say you are a rapist, you are a rape apologist like most Twitter feminists usually do, don't. Instead, try to talk to them about it. What I usually say is that the world is a big place, that it might be very difficult for you to, effect change in the whole world. However, your little corner of the world, try to effect change by talking to people, by making people see things from different perspectives. I know better, you know better, but they might not know better. That does not make them less of a human being. That does not make them an animal. That does not make them a rape apologist. That doesn't either make them a rapist, because they have not committed the act, but they just have a knowledge or a particular ideology that they need to change. Help them change it with love. Spread love and not hatred. There is already so much hate in this world that going to Twitter and start forming savages and this and that is not going to help you. It's not going to help the next person. It's not going to help us. It's not even going to help a rape victim, in fact. Do you understand? What is going to help us to build this society into being a better society is when we start spreading knowledge with love. Do you understand? Let us talk to these people and let them understand that these questions that they are asking is not the right questions to ask. The only question to ask in relation to a rape case is, has the other side spoken and what did he say? Now, when you have listened to both sides, then you can come out with your own personal judgment on it. And then lastly, before I go, I want to leave you guys with one thing. Please, when you hear cases of rape, speak out against it. When you hear cases of false accusation, speak up against it. Don't be hot here and be cold here. Do you know why? If you are caught to false accusation, you have brothers, and one day you will have sons. If you are called to rape cases, you have sisters, and one day you will have daughters. When that day comes, do you understand? You will want to protect them so much. But why don't you start by protecting them now? Speaking up against this act so that we start improving the society from this very point. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hope you guys have been able to understand a lot from what I've said so far in this video. If you have a different opinion from what I'm saying, or there is something that I said that you don't like, please make sure that you drop it in the comment section and let us have a very intellectual conversation as regards this particular topic. And also make sure that you subscribe. My name is DIEKO Talks. Thank you for watching.